Welcome to another edition of Anglican Unscripted. This is episode 240, the hot, humid, and hazy edition, the summer edition. I'm Kevin Carlson.
And I'm George Conger. Today's July 29th, 2016.
Okay, you probably watched more than one edition. I don't know if you've ever watched an Anglican Unscripted from the summer, usually in July and August, but you'll find George and I whine about the lack of news. Basically, Europe is on holiday. All the communications directors for local dioceses take the first or second week of August off. Most priests take off this month as well. And so there's not a lot of news producers, and people like us who are content distributors don't have a lot to do. So we always get excited when a breaking news story occurs, and we got that today. We joke from time to time that people provide us information. We get emails about what's going on, either in the International League of Communication or here in the Episcopal Church. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but the first leak that we got from the primates meeting in January came from the Episcopal Church. Here we have another leak coming from an archbishop that talks about something that I did not see coming, and that is another primates meeting. There's not been an official primates meeting for years, George.
Last one was in Dublin. I believe that was 2013. And we had this, of course, primates gathering this January in Canterbury. But this will be the first primates meeting since Dublin.
Okay.
Now, in Canterbury, the Archbishop of Canterbury and the primates said, yes, we're going to start meeting again. So I guess we could have expected this. But in light of all that has occurred since that meeting, there are questions as to whether this is going to be a success.
Well, let's back up and talk a little bit about what happened in Canterbury in January. The primates all got together, which was a miracle. They all worked together well, which was a miracle. They all agreed to provide a accountability to the Episcopal Church in its leadership of the Anglican Communion, within the Anglican Communion. They said for a period of 3 years, 1, 2, 3, the Episcopal Church shall not represent the Anglican Communion at meetings and shall not have a voting role in the Anglican Communion. That's not hard. That's easy. And they said, basically, the Archbishop followed up and said, this is great. If you agree to that, I'll put together a task force and we'll work it on out. This is good. Well, I think it was 2 weeks after the meeting, we started to learn people had different definitions of what accountability really means, George.
Well, it fell apart immediately. It actually fell apart. The GAFCON primates left. They didn't show up for the last morning. Their business was done, and that final Friday, they didn't go. The Kenya, Uganda, Nigeria, Foley Beach weren't there. And at that press conference that afternoon, the Archbishop of Canterbury began to walk back the promises he had made to the primates. And we then saw the head of the Anglican Consultative Council, James Tengatenga, say, well, you guys can't tell us what to do. And a member of the Episcopal Church is on the standing committee, and of course he's going to remain on the standing committee. And the Episcopal Church is, of course, going to be fully represented at the ACC meeting in Lusaka in April. And then Archbishop Welby put together this committee to investigate the Episcopal Church. None of the GAFCON primates, none of the GAFCON affiliated people were on that meeting. And who is on that team? Michael Curry is going to investigate himself.
Well,
Linda Nichols from the Anglican Church of Canada is going to investigate the Anglican Church of Canada. And she was one of the prime authors of the recent legislation that now has gay marriage in Canada.
Yep.
And they're investigating themselves for conformance with the Anglican Communion's received understanding of human sexuality. And so at his July pastoral letter to the GAFCON movement, Nicholas Oko of Nigeria said, look, it's very doubtful we're going to go to Lambeth 2020 if things are going to be this bad.
Yeah.
We urge people to go to the Jerusalem 2018 GAFCON conference, but man, we'll probably give Lambeth a pass.
Well, let's see if they give the primates meeting a pass. Let's follow up. We got a email that was forwarded to us. They want the Archbishop of Canterbury, or the person who sent the email, says we want to clear your calendars for October 2nd through that Friday, 2017. We're going to hold a primates meeting in Canterbury. That's
Can't
interesting because if I'm not mistaken, next year we're celebrating Martin Luther's 500th anniversary when he put a certain message on a door in Germany. But we're celebrating this in Sweden now?
Pope is going
Huh.
to meet with the leaders of the Lutheran World Federation, I believe in Malmo in
That's right,
October,
yeah.
to mark the 500th anniversary, the beginning of the Reformation. So it's going to be a busy week in Europe for the church.
It is. It's going to be an incredible Oktoberfest.
What
I'll be
we
drinking beer.
what we can't answer right now is
Uh-huh.
that this email message from an ACC staffer to the primates asking them to clear their calendar said that the invitations would be forthcoming. So if you ask, is Foley Beach invited? We don't know because
Don't
the
know yet.
invitations haven't gone out.
Right.
So we don't know who's invited, and more importantly, we don't know who's going to show up. Will GAFCON go if Foley Beach is not invited? Will GAFCON not go anyway because the Archbishop of Canterbury has not kept his word about what he would do in response to their requests? Will the centrists, people like Munir Nice, who basically brokered this deal at the January primates meeting and put their own personal credibility on the line on behalf of Justin Welby, and then were burned by Justin Welby, will they be willing to do this a second time? We can't answer those questions.
No, I mean, if the last gathering of the primates didn't work, do you want to try again? And that's interesting because as I've traveled around the last couple of months talking to some of the archbishops, they're like, it isn't worth it. There is a viable way forward with GAFCON. We don't really want to waste our time and money going back to Canterbury or going to Lambeth because nothing changes.
Uh,
The Archbishop of Canterbury is willing to live in a dual understanding of human sexuality in his communion, and we're not.
I believe it was Seneca or Cicero, I forget who. My brain is mush this day.
Yes, it's
Who asked the
Friday.
question, "Cui bono? Who benefits?
Yeah.
Why was this leaked? Why were we given a copy of this email? Who benefits from there being advanced knowledge a year and 3 months ahead of time of this meeting?" And I think you need to ask you, what are the what ifs? Now, the Archbishop of Canterbury, uh, did he want to keep this under wraps until as close a time as possible so that all the arguments about who is coming, who is not coming, what the agenda is going to be, will be held in closed door and not revealed to the world so that a picture of unity is presented? Or are there those who think that we need to have this news out there immediately so that no tricks are played because we don't trust the bureaucrats in London to play fair? And by keeping this as a back channel invitation until the final formal invitation goes out the week before, they don't want to be rolled again. You have to
Mhm.
ask those questions. And we're not going to tell you who sent it to us, but when you have these sort of leaks, just ask Julian Assange who benefits from WikiLeaks.
That's right. That guy
And
should get a
ask
full pardon,
yourself,
by the way.
that helps you interpret the meaning and importance of this sort of event.
Yeah,
So, interesting times we're living in.
it is. And for us news people, having information in July and August, yeah, that's how it works. September, okay. It'll be good because I'm sure we can fill at least 2 or 3 shows talking about that. We actually have time now to talk about the next topic. I don't know if people know this or not. Some of you do. There is actually going to be a trial held for Bishop Bruno out of Los Angeles, George.
Yes, Bishop Bruno, the people of St. James, Newport Beach will have their day in court, a
Uh-huh.
church court. As many of our viewers know, in I believe May of 2015, Bishop John Bruno, Bishop of Los Angeles and the Episcopal Church, locked the congregation of that church out, and announced he was selling the building for some $7 million, I think it was, or whatever it was, 15 million, I forget the exact number, to a developer to build condominiums. And Bishop Brewer was brought up. Bishop Bruno. Excuse me, Bishop
That's a
Bruno.
faux pas. If you don't know, Georgia's bishop is Bishop Bruno or Brewer, so he's going to commonly make that mistake. It's a faux pas.
A complaint with over 140 charges was laid against Bishop Bruno, including lying, including conduct unbecoming a member of the clergy, including financial misrepresentations, misleading the standing committee. Uh, Bishop Bruno, if all that is said is true, he's a real piece of work. And this is now the fourth stage. It was originally passed to the presiding bishop's office to see if there's any, is this a crackpot complaint? And they said no. It was passed to first panel, who tried to come to a pastoral resolution. Didn't work. Second team looked at it and tried to come to a pastoral quasi-legal. Well, we'll have this settled, negotiated settlement, where Bishop Bruno says he's wrong and promises to be nice. That didn't work.
That didn't
And
work.
so
No.
now we're having a full-fledged public trial of Bishop Bruno on specific counts of clergy misconduct. There are only two trials underway right now among bishops. One for Bishop Haiti, the other Bishop.
Okay. For some reason, George, I lost your microphone right there. Can you tap your mic? There we go. Okay. You keep talking. So let's not interrupt the broadcast. So, but what were the charges again?
Bishop Bruno is being charged with financial misconduct and moral misconduct. And now some would say, well, he's got less than a year in office. He doesn't really care or matter. But really, at this point, the Episcopal Church will be prosecuting a case against Bishop Bruno. It's passed through three stages where the Episcopal Church, as an institution, is trying to mediate between the aggrieved and the aggressor. Now it's come to the point where the aggressor is going to be prosecuted, and the penalties could range from a simple slap on the wrist to being removed from the ministry of the Episcopal Church.
Well, they could, like they did with previous bishops, say he didn't violate any wrong. He just wasn't nice in the way he did this. I think that's what they did for Bishop Spong. There's lots of different outcomes you can get from the Episcopal Church that'll just make your head spin. I'm trying to think of all the bishops who have been brought to trial. Spong, Ryder, who else, George?
Well, you need to distinguish between theology trials
Oh,
and
that's right. Yeah, sure.
personal misconduct trials. Personal misconduct trials, they're the Charles Benison.
Yes.
As I mentioned, the Bishop of Haiti is accused of diverting money from earthquake relief, and that's chugging through the system.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that yet. We got to talk about that in the next show.
And Bishop Bruno's is has nothing to do with theology. It has everything to do with personal misconduct.
Okay.
He's accused of running a real estate empire out of his office that nobody knows about, and it is alleged that he's run up some financial losses and needs to cover those. And the only asset that he had that was quickly saleable and worth a lot of money was this oceanside parish in Newport Beach, which he sold up, that he had attempted to sell out from underneath the congregation. And the congregation fought back, and it looks like they might win.
They may win this, but I think the law has been changed now in California, where you need 30 years after. If you put stipulations on a sale, you have to renew those stipulations every 30 years. So the parish may sell,
The original donor in the 1940s said, look, if this no longer is being used as church property, we get it back. It was the developer who built up it's called Lido Island,
Right.
Lido Isle, a section of Newport Beach. And they said, look, Bishop Bruno, if you're going to turn this into condos, we want the land back, because we're developers too. And the California courts held that in the 80s, a law was introduced saying that you have to renew stipulations like that every 30 years. And so the developer was out of luck because his expired and he didn't renew it. So Bishop
Ah,
Uno dodged that bullet, but right now the town of Newport Beach won't grant the waivers or zoning to allow more condos. The parish is fighting mad and is, believe me, it's not going to be turned into condos. And I think the people will get their church back, and Bishop
let's
Bruno
let's pray that
will
that's the
have
case. Yeah.
it, and the people will have their day in court.
Good. All right. Well, that's it for this episode of Anglican Unscripted. I'm Kevin Carlson.
And I'm George Conger, and you've been watching episode 240 of Anglican Unscripted.
Three.
Why
Okay,
doesn't Jill go?
stop. Dog, stop sneezing.
Why doesn't Jill go with Susan to look at puppets?
Yeah, that's right. Are you done, dog? Huh? You done?
I
Yeah, I'm
thought you had
starting.
this machine that picked up all this dust and hair as he's sneezing on his
I
own.
well, he's lying on his own mattress, which
Oh,
the Roomba doesn't go over the mattress, and I think he's allergic to happiness because
oh.
he's over. It's gross. All right. Three. I hope we can do this in this take. I don't want to miss supper. 3, 2, 1. He's doing this. Dog, if you're gonna sneeze, just get it out. All right. Maybe he's allergic. He doesn't have fleas, so he can't be allergic to fleas. Must be something else.